welcome to another episode of Tennis Chatter. I'm Ro Klein.
And this is Debbie Pachel.
And
Also
you always
known
say
as the mom.
Well, you always say Debbie Pachel, like when people call and you leave a voicemail and you're like, you are speaking to Debbie Pachel. How you say you're okay, whatever. But anyway, this episode
had nothing to do with tennis.
I was just okay.
You're
this
just
episode
criticizing
is
me once
oh
again.
my god, I'm not criticizing. I'm just making a comment. I'm not being like, ew, why do you do that? I'm just like,
you're editing this part out, right?
No, I'm not. So anyway, today was the Wimbledon finals between Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic, and Djokovic won in 4 sets. And so we're just going to kind of talk about, now that Wimbledon is done, we're kind of just going to talk about Wimbledon as a whole and everything. So what are your initial comments or anything?
So, Wimbledon wrap up. It was an interesting week. Obviously, we started our podcast saying how the Russians and the Belarusians were not allowed at the tournament. And, there definitely was some surprises along the way, especially with Nadal after his match with Fritz bowing out. So that set up the final with Kyrgios and Novak. And we surprised the women who were in the final were both first-time finalists. So what do you think? Can we talk about the women first? What do you think about that?
I didn't watch any of the women's match, but it was I don't know. I don't have any comments. It was a match. There's nothing to say.
Well, I think there's something to say, just in the sense that, Iga Swiatek, who certainly was my pick going into the tournament, was out, I think, after the 3rd round, beat by Elise Cornet. And that was a big story also because Elise Cornet is 32 or 34, and she's a 2-time mom, and she, I think, gave birth 15 months ago, unless I'm confusing her with somebody else. But that was all very good and interesting. And then, certainly Ons Jabeur has been winning some 250 and 500, and she's got a huge following because she's the first Tunisian woman and really the first woman from the Arab world, and she's been an inspiration to a lot of people. So she definitely, I would say that...
Well, I wanted her to win.
Yeah.
So I guess that was a disappointment.
Rybakina? No, how do you say her name? Rybakina, I think it is, who won, who is from Pakistan.
And I guess it could be controversial.
Yes.
Because she was born in Moscow and supposedly, I don't know, has at least a residence still in Russia. So that could be, I heard that was controversial.
It was. I agree. It's a little controversial. She apparently, the Russians didn't think she had enough potential to back her, so she actually, and this is in 2018, I think that's important to mention. It wasn't like she just did that now. So in 2018, she moved to Pakistan and is playing on behalf of Pakistan. So it's the first time they've had anybody there. So, so there is talk that she still has a place in Moscow, but I would feel more inclined that way if it had been within the past year. But knowing that she did this in 2018, it's kind of like Osaka, really. Osaka's been living in this country since she was 3 years old, but she plays for Japan. So it does happen all the time. Even Cam Norrie, Cam Norrie is British, but he went to school here in the States, to Texas Christian University.
So many players live in Monaco, but none of them play for,
Yeah, that's what I'm...
it's,
Yes, I'm saying. It's not uncommon. So... anyway, I do think that Rybakina, I think that's how you say it, she did end up outplaying. And Ons Jabeur actually won the first set. And I think she kind of thought, she could do it. And then Rybakina, that's the thing I always admire about tennis, and maybe you can talk to this because you're a tennis player, is that you really have to be a problem solver out there on the court, right?
What do you mean?
Meaning, so she's down a set. right?
Yeah, but that's mental toughness, which is a totally different episode. This is supposed to be just talking about Wimbledon.
Okay, well, I do think that, you see in both the women's and men's final that the opponent is up a set, and yet their opponent comes back and wins it.
Because tennis is that sport where you can always come back. So
yeah. So tell me what you thought about the match today between the men.
Like, it was like, some parts of it didn't seem real. Like, it just seemed like things were going along. And, like, Nick was serving really, really good, but then, I don't know when the exact moment was, at the end of the first set or something, where he started, like, talking, and then he didn't stop the entire match. And I think it was upsetting because there was a few times, and I don't think it was back-to-back points, but it was in the same game where they called his serve out and he challenged it and it turned out to be in. And then there's a few other times when he didn't challenge it, where he's thinking about it and he was upset, and it turned out it was in and he didn't challenge it. So I think if there was no linesman and this was up to technology, Nick Kyrgios would have won, because those points and probably more would have gotten over, would have gone his way. And also because when this happens, like when it's so close, it upsets him. I think you could tell he was nervous. There was that time in the second set, I think, where he had a lot of break points and just couldn't convert. And then there was those times where he was up 40-love, and Novak just came back, and it's upsetting. But it was, we were rooting for him. We were hoping, in the fourth set, we were like, we're hoping this goes to a fifth set. And I think he just, tiebreakers are so the hardest part, especially if it's a tiebreaker, to like keep the match going. You can just totally lose yourself in just the first few points if they don't go your way, which was happening to him. So that part was upsetting. But Nick was saying, I don't know if I'll ever make it to the finals again, and I hope he does. I still believe he can be a Grand Slam singles, winner, and we hope to see him again in the final. And it's just something where I think it does really like hurt him, as much as we like root for him and respect him. Like him, talking the entire time does really hurt him, and he could be so much greater if he's able to learn a way to handle that. And we're not exactly sure if it's something where he needs to get a psych coach or whatever, if he just needs like exactly how to do it. I did not go to school for sports psychology, but as a tennis player and working, with my own mental toughness, I could help you, Nick, if you're listening.
Are you volunteering your services?
If you wanted to, I think I could help.
Okay.
But because I also live with people who are aggressive, so I can make it, but I don't know. It was also weird too, because like I kept commenting on the fact that like literally after every single point, his entire like team or whatever box was getting up and cheering. I'm like, after every single point, like I could not stand and cheer. Like I think there was only one point the entire match where I like was, even though watching at home, like clapped. And so I can't like imagine like being there, like standing after every point. And then he's like getting mad at his box for not cheering enough, but they're like standing after every single, like that would be exhausting. Anyway, those were my thoughts. What were your thoughts?
So I agree with a lot of what you said. I'll take it a little further to say I think that he has all the goods to be a Grand Slam winner. And I think, compared to the other matches, the other opponents that Djokovic played the past 2 weeks, I think actually Nick has this, he has the killer serve. I mean, he just has one of the best serves in tennis today. And he had a couple of opportunities that didn't go his way, some calls that didn't go his way. that weren't challenged, and he just couldn't convert. He couldn't convert, and I know he knows this. He's his own worst enemy. That when he starts getting out of control, he starts spiraling, and he can't rein it in, and that works against him in those opportunities to convert. And that's where Novak has the experience, right? That's where experience comes into play. And I think, yeah, I mean, that's so funny how you brought up that whole thing about how his player box has to stand after every point, and the announcers brought it up too. And that's a feeling of insecurity, and he looks to them, and he needs some other outlet, right? He needs some, whether it's you, maybe giving him that advice.
Yeah,
when he
get my services. Let's go. I can help you.
He just needs something to, I mean, it's the most stressful moment in your world, right? Like, to be in these finals. He's got the goods. Like, he definitely has the tennis goods. Not only does he has an amazing serve, he really has a good court IQ. He really has a great court IQ. But I think when he's just so stressed like that, he sometimes just gives up on himself. And so I don't know exactly what it is to turn him around, but he has he's beaten Djokovic twice before. This is the first time Djokovic beat him, and it was on, the biggest stage. So I think he should take the attitude that he will be to another Grand Slam final, and he can win it. And look, Iga Swiatek, Osaka, they've been very open about having mental challenges, and Iga Swiatek, since she's had that psycho coach, has been really playing phenomenal. And I think it's not something, it's almost expected in this day and age. Everybody has a team of experts, whatever makes it, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean, Nick doesn't even have a coach. He has a trainer that's been with him pretty much since the beginning.
He has no coach?
You didn't know that? Nick Kyrgios doesn't have a coach.
Oh, God.
But he has a team still, like a trainer, and
Right.
I don't know, there's some other guy.
I mean,
but
I do want to say he was very entertaining to watch, right? He did a couple tweeners, he did underhand serves.
Yeah, he had to do the in-between, back-to-back points, and the first one he won, the second one he didn't, but...
Yeah, I mean, he is really a very entertaining player. You know what? I just kind of thought with his team that somebody was his coach. Did he used to have a coach?
I don't know. He doesn't have a coach, though, which is, fine. He doesn't need a coach. But I don't know if he might need a psych coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's just putting a lot of pressure on the people that he loves in terms of his players box, and that's great. But A, it puts a lot of pressure on them, and B, you need to find that, from a more objective third party that's not emotionally attached who can help him through that.
Yeah. So do we have any other thoughts about Wimbledon?
Yeah, I did want to say a couple things, because what really bothered me, the whole thing with Rafa pulling out after his match with Fritz. And the whole thing is that Fritz was classy. He took the high line and said, I didn't deserve the high road. It didn't deserve to be in the semifinal. Rafa beat me fair and square, which is exactly what he should say. That's being very mature. That's taking the high road. That's, he's a classy guy. But I actually think, his time is about to come. He is so ready to break big. And I think that Rafa knew in his heart that he couldn't continue. And I think he not only robbed Fritz, but he robbed the fans. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of people who paid a ton of money to see the semifinals, and one semifinal gone. And then, no offense, but the semifinal between Cam Norrie and Djokovic was not very competitive. So I think that, Rafa is a very classy guy, but he had the thing with Sonego where he called him to the net, called him out on his grunting. And he did this, and I think...
You're never talking negatively about the people who might come back to you, and you're talking negatively about Rafa.
I think he's generally a very classy guy. He's one of the, obviously one of the best players out there, and he's usually the one who, doesn't get in fights with the umps and doesn't do anything like that. But, I also think he's at his point in his career where he's wants to stay in the game so badly that he's kind of looking at that maybe more than some things that are kind of common sense. So, overall it was an interesting 2 weeks, and there were some people that we definitely missed. You know, Zverev wasn't there, and Sabalenka, and who else wasn't there? Berrettini, who was in the finals last year because he got COVID. Yeah, definitely some. No, Osaka wasn't there. Definitely some notable names. You know, Serena out way too quickly in the first round, but great to see her back on the court. And then the doubles, I thought was fun seeing, definitely seeing Venus and Jim Murray, right? James Murray. And then loved seeing
Jim Murray? What?
James Murray.
Jamie Murray.
It's James Murray, isn't it?
No, it's Jamie Murray. Look it up.
All right. And I loved seeing Coco Gauff and Jack
James
Sock.
Murray. It's Jamie Murray.
Okay. So, well, why you're making a big deal out of it? Anyway.
Because you're like, no, I'm right, when you're like wrong. So that's why I'm making a big deal about it.
I'm not going to do any more of these if you keep being that way.
I'm not. I'm not even being mean to you. I'm just correcting you.
I'm thinking of James Murray because I'm thinking of from Impractical Jokers.
I'm not being mean to you. I'm just correcting you because I know it's Jamie Murray.
Right. I'm thinking of James Murray from Impractical Jokers since I used to work at True TV. That's okay.
Well, don't be mean to me then for just correcting you so we can be as accurate as possible in this podcast.
Okay. All right. So that's the score. I think that's about all I have to say. I love the Grand Slams, though, because you get the men's, the women's, all the doubles and mixed doubles. So, looking forward to...
Well, the next... So matches are starting, tomorrow. Got some tournaments. The one in Rhode Island, especially. And they start this coaching thing. So I think the next podcast might be about, coaching. You've got to do one at the beginning of the coaching and then after a little while seeing how it goes. But comment below if you have other ideas for episodes. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Anything else to say?
Talk to you soon. I don't know.
I'm Riley Klein.
It's Debbie saying goodbye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.